So in the early church, lots of people began to follow the teachings of Jesus. And that actually got some people in hot water. So one of the early followers, a guy called Stephen, ended up getting stoned by the Jewish authorities who were not fans of Jesus. And between you and I, getting stoned to death is not the best way to go. And it freaked the hell out of all of the early followers. And so what they decided they were going to do was get out of Jerusalem and get away from people and get out of danger. And what that actually meant was some of them went north, some of them went south, and some of them made their way to Turkey in a place called Antioch. And when they arrived there, they decided they were going to teach the local people about Jesus. So there were local Jews there, but there were also Greeks as well. Now, up until this point, followers of Jesus tended to be Jewish. And it was a bit wild because in the Old kind of Testament, God was for the Jews. He wasn't for everybody else. So the early followers decided they're going to sit down with these Greeks who didn't have any concept of who Jesus was or who God was. They're following Zeus and they're following, Hades and Poseidon and all those kind of things. And they hear the word of God and they absolutely love it. And they decide, we're down for this. We're going to follow this guy, Jesus. Now, because this is a bit of a new thing, word of these new kind of Greek converts made its way back to Jerusalem. And there were still some early followers of Jesus hanging out there, like a guy called Barnabas. And he decided, this sounds really cool. I'm going to come down to Antioch and see what's going on. So Barnabas makes his way down and he sees these Greeks preaching the great news of Jesus. And he's like, this is incredible. I need to tell more people. So then he passes word on to a guy called Saul, who's living in Tarsus, which between you and me is basically just a different part of Turkey. And Saul comes along with Barnabas and they look at this together and they're like, guys, this is something amazing is happening here. So they get together and they start to form the early church. They start to teach all these Greeks about the Old Testament and well, it hadn't been written yet, but like the New Testament. And they decided that they were going to hang out with these guys for a long time and just make sure that they were thriving in their education and their knowledge of who Jesus was. Now, back in Jerusalem, there were some other dudes hanging out there, one of which was a prophet, and he came down to Antioch, and he had this incredible vision from God, and he saw that there was going to be a great famine across all of the Roman Empire. Remember, the Roman Empire basically extended from Jerusalem all the way out to places like Antioch. And so this guy, the prophet, comes down to Antioch and tells these early followers, tells Saul, tells Barnabas, and these early followers, without being prompted, decide, you know what, we need to look out for our brothers and sisters back in Jerusalem. And they get together and they pull all their funds together and they send it back as a big care package to the church back in Jerusalem. And that's just an incredible testament of the faith of those early believers and how faithful God is to those who stayed back in Jerusalem as well.